The XREAL Aura is a pair of glasses that gives you giant private screens floating in front of you anywhere you want. And it's the first to run on Snapdragon's most powerful XR chip and on Android XR, built together with Google, which means it does a lot of what people buy a Vision Pro for, but without the weight, the isolation, or the price tag. This might be the device a lot of you have actually been waiting for. So here's what struck me. After 4 hours wearing it at events, this might get you most of a premium spatial computing experience for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the weight. That's a big claim to make, so let me break down where I think it lives up to that and where it falls short. And honestly, I think it's the most interesting head-worn device we've had in years. But the big question I keep getting is, should you buy one? Well, I'll give you my honest take, including what I still need to test before I can fully recommend it. Quick note, XREAL partnered with us on this one, but I was going to make this video anyway, and as always, it doesn't change how I review things. Stick around, because the part that surprised me most is coming up. Join me beyond reality. Okay, so how does this thing actually work? Well, the Aura comes in two pieces. There's the glasses and there's a puck, a little tethered unit about the size of a phone that you can clip on. The puck is the brain, running on the brand new Snapdragon Reality Elite chipset. It runs Android XR and does all of the heavy lifting, while the glasses are simply the display that shows it to you. And from what I've seen, it's mostly the same Android XR you'll find on the Samsung Galaxy XR. Now here's the clever part. Inside, two displays beam the image into prism lenses that sit in front of your eyes, so the picture floats in your view while you still see your real room straight through the glass. And on the front, there's a separate electrochromic layer with 5 levels of dimming, so you can take the real world from basically transparent all the way to basically blocked out. Because it's optical see-through and not camera pass-through, it saves a lot of processing power. For tracking, there are 2 world tracking cameras plus an RGB camera at the front which handle head and hand tracking. And this is the bit that surprised me, it's full 6 stuff, so you can actually walk around and the digital objects stay put. It feels properly AR, not just a floating screen. You control everything with your hands, pins to select, gestures to scroll, or you can use the puck like a laptop trackpad. And if you'd rather, you can also plug in a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. And honestly, it's stable, like more stable than I expected. The only time hand tracking gave me trouble was when my hair fell in front of the cameras. So you know, that might be a me problem, the glasses work fine. My hair is the bug. There are dead zones too. The cameras have a range, so you don't have hand tracking everywhere. I asked what happens in a dim room and they told me hand tracking won't work there, but in those cases, you would just use the puck's trackpad instead. One more thing I love, using the front RGB camera, you can also take photos and video or ask Gemini about whatever you're looking at. There's also a privacy LED at the front, so people around you know when you're actively filming. More on this later, because that's where it got a little magical for me. But first, how does it actually look? Because I know most of you care about this. Inside, you got 2 Sony Micro OLED displays, 9020x1200 per eye, running up to 120 Hz and a 70-degree field of view, which is the widest of these glasses style devices right now. I think it looks really beautiful so far. Wide enough for movies and games. The one thing is, it's wider horizontally than vertically, so even at the darkest dimming, it doesn't wrap around you. I played Demio again, which started live as a VR game, and it looks amazing, but you do notice you're watching through a kind of rectangular window. Resolution-wise, my first impressions is that it's really nice. Text looked sharp and readable, watching videos looked great, and gaming was genuinely a lot of fun. Where I think we'll hit the limit is heavy work that needs a ton of window space, like editing video or coding. That's where it might start to feel a bit low, but that's something I want to properly test once I get more time with it. Now, one thing I really want you to understand, because it confuses people. Even though these look like sunglasses, they sit further from your eyes than real glasses do. So there are different kind of glasses than waveguides ones, like the Snap specs that Snap just opened pre-orders for, which sit right up against your eyes. XREAL uses prism lenses instead. They're cheaper and a bit bulkier, but noticeably smaller than the birdbath optics on their older glasses. And the Aura goes way beyond those old glasses. This is a full spatial computer, not just a screen on your face. And just to be clear, these can't replace your everyday prescription glasses, and they don't work as sunglasses either. So the way I'd frame it, it's a sleeker, more wearable take on what headsets do, trading view to view and opacity for that lighter form, and it sits in its own category. Now, this little thing, this is either the smartest part of the whole device or the deal breaker. Let me show you. This is the puck. It's got a genuinely premium design, and the whole front face is a giant trackpad you use like a mouse with gestures for scrolling. So the puck runs the show, the OS and most of the computing. The chip inside the glasses, XREAL's own X1S, is the coprocessor that handles the spatial low latency stuff and drives the displays and sensors. And all the processing from the cameras happens right there on the glasses, so that data doesn't have to travel down to the puck to be handled. That split is what keeps the glasses light and the image stable at the same time. The puck has a removable clip at the back. Normal clip goes on your pants, and there's another that lets you wear it around your neck. Funny thing, XREAL told me they don't recommend putting it in your pocket. My guess is heat the puck getting too hot, which would kind of answer the question I raised in my last video, though they told me it won't overheat on your pants or neck. There are volume buttons on the side, and one doubles as a fingerprint sensor, really convenient for logging in or unlocking a password manager. That comes in two configs, 12 gigs of RAM with 256 gigs of storage or 16 gigs with 512 gigs. Now here's the genuinely exciting bit. The puck runs on the brand new Snapdragon Reality Elite and is the very first XR device to use it. I did a full deep dive on what that chip changes in a separate video, which I'll link below. The short version, compared to the Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2, Reality Elite promises around 60% more GPU performance, 30% more CPU, and a huge 160% jump in NPU performance for AI tasks at 48 TOPS, which basically measures how many AI operations it can crunch per second. So it's a real jump, especially for on-device AI. And that's the interesting part to me. On paper, it can run AI right on the device, offline, faster, potentially more private. I just don't know how much of that the Aura actually delivers, and even then, it's up to each developer to use it, and something like Gemini might still need the cloud. But that potential could unleash a lot, so I'm excited to see what will happen. Is it an upgrade overall? Seems like it. Well, it's got a 4455 mAh battery, which XREAL says is around 4 hours of mixed use. There are two USB-C ports at the bottom, one for the glasses and the other so you can keep it charged while you use it. As for more on performance, I'll have to test that later once I get more time with it. But for those asking if it beats the XREAL One Pro, yeah, it does, because it has the sensors Android XR and the puck need baked in. And that's actually one of the reasons you cannot use the One Pro with the puck, which I confirmed, unfortunately. So if you want the full Android XR experience, I would not get the One Pro over this. Now, honestly, this is the part I had the most fun with. It's Android XR, and that's the whole magic. XREAL told me that anything that runs on Android XR should work on Aura, so totally new experiences made for Android XR and millions of mobile and tablet apps in the Google Play Store. I tried a bunch. Demio, which lets you crossplay with people on other devices, which is actually awesome. Oh My Galaxy, an arcade-style galaxy puzzle game from nDreams. I also tried Google Maps, a 180 video viewer, YouTube, and an auto 3D conversion mode that looked genuinely beautiful. And XREAL says there are over 100 apps already in development built specifically for XR. They also announced some games that genuinely got me excited, but I didn't get to try these myself yet. The footage I saw looked amazing though. There's Project Hail Mary, based on the book, where the spaceship literally bleeds into your real room and you fix veiling systems with your hands. There's Fallout Factions, a turn-based tabletop battle game playing out on a 3D map right on your table. There's Asteroid, an immersive film from director Doug Liman with live AI you can talk to, and it will be free for Aura owners. And Cubism, one of the most loved XR puzzle game now set in your actual room. And there's more, so there's already real stuff coming, not just demos. But here's what I have tried and what I think shows potential, and and it's how the AI blends into the real world around you. I tried an app where I could just pinch anything I looked at, a plant in the room or even a palm tree way off in the distance, and it would break down what it's made of and then let me talk to it to learn more. So the AI actually sees what you see and enters right on top of your real view, and right there I thought this is the kind of thing that could really change education. Now I could also try plugging in a laptop. Here's how it actually works. You use the second USB-C port to plug in anything that supports USB-C display port, and I plugged in a laptop and then I used the glasses as a big second screen, while still keeping my native apps floating to the side. I was able to resize the windows, place them anywhere I want, and walk around the windows. This is the part that feels a lot like the Vision Pro, and honestly, even with the limits, pulling all of this off in this form factor is amazing. For anyone wanting a portable productivity setup, this is kind of the dream. And surprisingly, I could also plug in a Switch 2 with just one single USB-C cable without needing a dock or adapter, and it worked instantly without any lag that I could notice. If you know that connection is notoriously hard to pull off with one cable. XREAL somehow figured it out, and playing Switch 2 on a giant looking screen is just so much fun. And then you can turn on Gemini, let it see your screen and ask it anything about the game, a walkthrough, a hint, or just treat it like a friend watching you play. I've actually been doing this a lot on the Galaxy XR, and I genuinely didn't expect to love it as much as I do. Actually, it's less judgmental than my wife when I play badly, so... Now, I really also wanted to test PC VR streaming, but I could not find a virtual desktop in the Play Store yet. Steam Link loaded, but only for flat games. The good news is I checked with the virtual desktop developer directly, and they confirmed it should work on the Aura at launch with the same capabilities as the app on the Galaxy XR, and even better performance and limits thanks to the newer chip. That said, I'm curious if the tracking will be fast enough for games that need real precision, so that's something I want to test myself. And the big open question is motion VR controllers. Whether they will work is still up in the air. Bluetooth controllers and something like the Mutra Band should work, but I'll only know for sure once I get my own. And one more honest caveat, XREAL did tell me that some of the apps in the Play Store may still have bugs and developers might need to optimize them for the Aura, so that's high on my list to really test properly. Okay, comfort. How do these actually feel after a while? The glasses come in under 95 grams, and XREAL told me that they're still trying to shave a little more off before launch, so that number might change. The ones I tried felt really comfortable already. They will remind you a lot of the actual One Pro, adjustable hinges, removable nose pads. I had no problems even looking up or down, and as long as you're not doing anything crazy, they stay on your face. And if you wear prescription, you can buy an insert separately, so they've got you sorted there too. For under 95 grams with a full display stack, that's light, and a few times I forgot I had them on. All-day comfort is still on my test list though. The one thing that will probably bug me the most is the cable and the plug, but honestly I feel like I'd get used to that pretty quickly. So here's where I have to be fair to you, because no device this early is perfect and there are some real gaps. Now remember that big claim from the start? Here's where it really holds up and where it doesn't. What's amazing to me is that the Aura gives you an XR experience that used to need a full headset, but in something that looks like glasses. That's a real achievement. But shrinking it down that much does come with a trade-off, so let me be fair to you about them. There's no eye tracking and no face tracking, which means no face-tracked avatars like Galaxy XR's likeness. Missing eye tracking is something I'm keeping an eye on. On devices that have it, you look and pinch to select, and that speed adds to the magic. Pointing with your hand works fine, but I'd want to use it longer before I judge how much I miss it. The bigger ones for me are the lower resolution and the smaller field of view. A full headset wraps all the way around you, so on raw immersion, that feeling of being completely inside another world, the Aura doesn't go quite as deep. That's the trade for this lighter, sleeker form. Whether it matters really comes down to how much full immersion you actually want. And here's what I also could not confirm yet, whether it ends up on Wi-Fi 6 or 7. They told me that might still change. The audio, I still barely got to test it. From the little I heard, it sounds decent for built-in speakers, but I need more time. Real PC VR streaming and controller support both still untested, and the everyday stuff, heat over long sessions, battery in real use, app bugs. This is exactly why this is a first impressions and not a final verdict. I need more time with them before I can fully recommend them. So, should you buy one? Honestly, I think the XREAL Aura is an incredible device and I haven't been this excited about something in a while because the potential here is huge. When people realize you can do all of this in this form factor, I think it really shifts something in the market. So who is it for? For me personally, I'm genuinely excited to use this while traveling or sitting in the garden, writing my scripts, playing flat games, the occasional MR game. There are just times I don't want to feel so isolated, and that's exactly where this fits. I don't care much about field of view for that because if I want true immersion, I'll just grab my VR headset. And if my suspicions are right and I reach for the Aura as much as I think I will, then for me it's worth it. But I want more time before I give you my final verdict. But I really love to hear what you need in glasses like this, and if you have any questions, let me know below. Now, they finally opened pre-orders, but here's the weird part. XREAL still hasn't told us the final price, only that it will not exceed $1,500 US, excluding taxes. When I asked why, it came down to RAM pricing possibly changing in the coming weeks, so they just don't want to commit yet. But it launches this fall. There was a founder priority pass for around $300, but that's already sold out, so the one that matters now, you can reserve for $99 and get 199 credits during launch. Also here, limited quantities available, but seems like a good deal since you can cancel anytime. It's launching in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and selected EU countries. The links below if you want a closer look. So that's the XREAL Aura, a seriously exciting device with a form factor I think a lot of you have been waiting for. But I still need to put it through its paces, so subscribe so you don't miss that full review. And if you want to understand where all of this is heading, watch my Snapdragon deep dive next. XR on.